To understand being a child of God, we will go over the three emotions that one should experience as a child of God, or the three emotions that we should experience as a child of God, and the three emotions that God Himself experiences: joy, sorrow, and anger. So, the joy of the Lord should be your strength. When the joy of the Lord when the joy of the Lord is your strength, you will be happy even when you're sad. You will be happy even when you're angry. You will always have happiness because the joy of the Lord is your joy. So you will only feel the base level of sorrow or the base level of anger. You will not feel some enticement to go beyond that. You won't feel sad for yourself. You won't feel wrathful toward people. Just anger toward the evil of the action. And anger towards evil and not anger towards people. As people are God's. And sorrow, when you grieve a loss of a loved one or whatever other manner of grief, instead of it being piling on, it'll just be at base level. Because with the joy of the Lord being your strength, there will be no corrupted sorrow. There will be no corrupted anger. You will feel emotions as they should be felt. You will have an abundance of joy, and your sorrow will not be multiplied, although it will serve its purpose, just as grief will serve its purpose, to help you to process what is happening, just as anger will help you to process what is happening. These things will be done in righteousness, and I'm looking to be on track with what I'm saying. So, one is joy, for we must have joy just like God has joy. Two is sorrow, for we must have sorrow just as God has sorrow. Three is anger, for we must have anger just as God has anger. God does not like it when we sin, and He is grieved by when His creation is made errors, when His creation is made against Him, when we are corrupted so that instead of us being God lovers, we reject God. This grieves the Father. And anger, well, God is not happy about the devils and demons that tempt His children. He's not happy about that. He doesn't like that. It makes Him angry. That's why there's a lake of fire at the end. That's why Jesus comes back to wipe out all the evil. Because God doesn't like it. God is not happy with that. He's angry about that. And this is godly anger. This is not some immature thing. This is anger as it should be. This is anger as, you do not touch my children. You do not hurt my children. If you hurt my children and you are unrepentant, you will die in eternal fire. Your name will not be known. You will not be remembered by those who loved you. You will be forgotten. Because while they will be in heaven with me, you, in your unrepentant heart, will be gone forever. You will not be remembered for your trespasses against me. And the righteous, those who obey me, will be with me in heaven. And all that accept my Son will be with me in heaven. The joy of the Lord is our joy. The sorrow of the Lord is our sorrow. The anger of the Lord is our anger. When you have the mind of Christ, you should be happy when God is happy. You should be sad when God is sad. You should be angry when God is angry. Because we are connected to God. We are designed as smaller versions of the Almighty. And when I say smaller, I mean in power. Because our power is Him. And when we submit to Him, we use His power to be blessed. We use His laws to be blessed. We use Him to be loved. We do not use people to be loved. We do not use people for power. We use God. Just as we use our father and mother to shelter us, to protect us, to teach us right from wrong. That is the relation to us and our Father in heaven. A disobedient child cannot be sheltered. A disobedient child cannot be protected. But an obedient child can have all the wealth of his parents' house or her parents' house because they have not turned away from what is righteous, and instead they have stayed. This was supposed to be more of a structured video, but commentary works too. So, back to joy. You should always have joy, even when you're sad, even when you're angry, because you are of God. And when you're of God, you're awesome. You're inspiring. You are a light in the darkness. You're what the world wants to be. Because when they see you and nothing troubles you, when they see you and you're constantly being blessed, they want in on that. They want to know, why are they like that? What is going on? So why are things going right for them? Because of God. Because of the power of God working in your life and the power of blessing working in your life. That's why you are the light of the world. That's why you shine so bright. That's why nothing phases you. And yes, the thought of fear may cross your mind. That doesn't mean that you're afraid. That means that someone wants you to think you're afraid. You don't have to be afraid. But there is a place for joy, for sorrow, and for anger. So you should grieve when it's time to grieve. You should be angry when it's time to be angry. But do not use your anger as an excuse for unforgiveness or for hate against anything that is not evil. You should always forgive the person. Before they do it, after they do it, while they're doing it, you should have forgiveness for them in the same amount that Christ has forgiveness for them. The action can be rebuked. The action, you can hate the action forever, because if the action is evil, you should never love it. But the person, when they are mistaken, when they have just lost their way, that is not an excuse for wrath against them. That is not an excuse for unforgiveness. Because as soon as you have unforgiveness in your heart towards your brothers and sisters, towards God's children, you can't have the power of God. You can't have the blessings of God because you're in disobedience. You're no longer an obedient child when you have unforgiveness in your heart. And that goes with the joy thing. When the joy of the Lord is your strength, you love everybody. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter how they speak, whether they sound arrogant or whether they sound self-pitying. It doesn't matter how they sound. What matters is, hey, that's God's child over there. That's my brother over there. That's my sister over there. And I care about them deeply because Jesus cares about them deeply. And with joy, there is laughter. You should be able to joke with people. You should be able to have fun. It's not always about, well, it's not about being serious to the point that you're not even being serious. When being seriousness, when being serious is made into a joke, that's not seriousness. When you're serious and you never joke, when you're, well, it's not about joking so much, but that you should smile. You should show joy. Because if you don't show joy, you're not emulating Christ. You're not emulating God the Father. Because they show joy. They have joy. And they also have sorrow. And they also have anger. And they know the placement of each. They know when to be sad. They know when to be angry. Because you cannot carry grief with you. You have to let it go. And to let it go, there's a process called sorrow. Grieving. You got to allow that base level of grief so that you're not in denial. You're not denying that someone has left and gone to heaven or hell. You're not denying that. But you're certainly having joy that your life is blessed, that God is working through you and in your life. And to those that you know have gone to heaven, to have that joy that God has them with them. Instead of them dealing with the darkness of the world, they just deal with God. They just deal with the majesty of God. And another thing with joy, enthusiasm. To show enthusiasm. It may freak people out. It may freak animals out. But God is not one to lack enthusiasm. Going to church should be about, you should be enthusiastic about going to church. You should be enthusiastic about reading the Bible. You should be enthusiastic about keeping your flesh from having dominion over you instead of you having dominion over it. You should be enthusiastic about crucifying the flesh and saying, nah, devil, I'm not going to do that. No, devil, I'm not going to do that. No, devil, I don't want to do that. You should be enthusiastic about sleeping to nurture your body. You should be enthusiastic about eating that healthy extent, that healthy amount to nourish your body. You should be enthusiastic about drinking water to nurture your body. You should be enthusiastic even when you're sad, even when you're angry. You should still have that enthusiasm in you because you're letting your light shine. You're happy. You don't let the world destroy you. You should never have worldly sorrow. You should never have worldly anger. And you should never have worldly joy. You should never be happy that someone got murdered. You should never be happy that someone got raped. You should never be happy that a child is being abused emotionally, physically. You should never be happy that people get divorced. You should never be happy that people die before their time. You shouldn't be happy about that. You should be happy that, oh, they're in heaven. You should be happy that they're alive. You should be happy that you can pray for them. That you can tell Jesus, that you can ask Jesus, Jesus, I want you to help them. And thank you for helping them. Thank you for honoring my wants and my wishes as I'm being used as a vessel for you by wanting righteous things, by wanting good things. So when I ask for wealth, it's not just, oh, I want to live a wealthy lifestyle of like have the best fashions or this or that. Now, it's good to have that. It's not bad, but that's not the point. The point is that when you have that, the world sees that something is going on right there. The church should not be full of poor people. Everyone who is poor that goes into a church should then learn the law of protection by tithing. The four types of giving: tithing, first fruits, alms, and seed. If you want wealth, your tithe will protect you from losing it. Your first fruits will show that God can trust you to have wealth. Alms will show that you are willing to bless those in need, to help those in need, without without sounding a trumpet, without going out and telling everybody, "Yeah, I helped them. Oh, I helped them. Yeah, I'm so good. I helped them." Instead of doing that, given them the dignity of not saying anything, giving somebody $40,000 and saying, and then just that's between you and God. That's between you, God, and them, that you did it, that you blessed them. And the seed, is how you grow your wealth. You'll be reimbursed for alms when in secrecy. But that seed harvest, that's where the money is. That's how you become rich. The tithe protects you from losing your wealth, and the seed makes it to where you can grow your wealth. And first fruits, when you show that you trust God enough to just give to Him, just to say, hey, this chunk of change here, you can have that. I don't need it. I want to give it to you. When you can do that, then He can trust you with money. He can trust you to hold on to $40,000 to give it to somebody, $1 million to give it to somebody. And throughout that whole time, never be tempted. Never act on temptation to use it for yourself. Never be a church that gets money and says they're going to use it for one thing and then uses it for something else. With first fruits, you show to God that He can trust you to keep to your word with what you say you're going to do with money. If people trust you enough to give you $40,000 or $50,000 or $1 million or $1 billion to help people in a disastrous time and not use it for yourself, then you should keep to your word and honor God by using that money for what He had it for, to help people and not to help yourself. You should be helped enough by having the protection of the tithe and having the power of the seed, that your wealth will be increased. And by doing alms, you will be repaid the exact amount you give. So it is not a loss when you give to people in secrecy, because God will return it to you. The full amount that you paid will be returned to you. So yes, to be a child of God, you must have joy. You must have sorrow as it is appropriate. You must have anger as it is appropriate, because you have to be able to process happiness, sadness, and anger. If you cannot be sad, if you cannot be angry, then you are suppressing something. But when your sadness and your anger are as God's sadness and God's anger, then you're not suppressing anything. You're just being a child of God with the joy, the sorrow, and the anger of God the Father, being no different than Jesus. That is all.